Hi, I'm Lennox, and I'm coming up on Extreme Close-Up.
Sweet dreams are made of these. Who am I to disagree?
It was 1983 when Sweet Dreams introduced Eurythmics into the pop music lexicon. Over the next few years, Annie Lennox and Dave Stewart created distinctive looks to go along with hits like Who's That Girl?, Missionary Man, Would I Lie to You, and Sisters Are Doing It for Themselves. In 1990, the two took a break from Eurythmics. Dave worked on solo projects, and Annie, who had married Israeli film director Uri Fruchtman 2 years before, took time off to mother their daughter Lola. When music called again, Lennox decided the time had come to go it alone. The result is Diva, her debut solo album. Lennox was born in Aberdeen, Scotland, the only daughter of a hotel cook and shipyard boilermaker. At the age of 17, she left for London to study classical flute at the Royal Academy of Music. Instead, she found a personal and professional partnership with Dave Stewart. Their first band, The Tourists, broke up about the same time as the relationship did. But the foundation had been laid for the Eurythmics. When we caught up with Annie at the Four Seasons Hotel in Beverly Hills, she reminisced about her first meeting with Stewart.
The real reason why I met Dave was because I was friendly with someone that he knew. Somebody had offered me some kind of contract, and I was very naive, but I was suspicious enough to ask around before I put my name to paper, you know. And my friend thought that Dave might know something about, or know someone who might know something about contracts. So we were ostensibly introduced to each other so that he could have a look at this contract. And, well, we just got on very well with each other, and things just developed from there, you know, as things do in life.
One thing led to another.
Yes, yes, it did, yeah. But having said all of that, I mean, joking apart, he was the first person for me who really encouraged me creatively, you know, and supported me totally. And it was a unique sort of friendship, actually. So, all jokes apart, it was the beginning of a really special friendship and a really special working relationship, ultimately.
And the genesis of a new sound, a new image for you?
Well, a whole sort of journey, really, in a way. I mean, at the beginning, we were so new in what we did. We made a lot of mistakes, you know. We learned our lessons the hard way. We had another group before that we broke up. We were in debt to a record company, you know. We got terribly ripped off. But we had all those lessons that young groups have to learn. But I think that was the thing that strengthened us in the end, you know. Because when we actually came to form Eurythmics, we really had a lot of strength, you know, and of experience.
You come from a working class background. How did your parents feel about you pursuing a career in pop music?
I think they had no problems with that until I started to get quite well known. Then I think my father was concerned because it seemed to be so big that there didn't seem to be any end to it. And it is frightening, you know. It's suddenly, it's like a door. You've been knocking on this door for a long, long time. And maybe just for one moment you didn't look and the door opened wide. And there's this incredible thing in the other room, you know, which is totally different to the life that you had before, and very exposed, very exposing. You have to be a certain kind of person that can deal with that, you know.
So what did your dad say?
Well, we had some difficulties, I must admit. Not really so much with my choice of career, but we had our personal difficulties, and we had our communication problems, I must admit. Just like any, I mean, I'm an only child, so I think it's hard for all fathers in particular to sort of let their only daughters go into the world, you know, and feel secure about it.
I've got to wonder, how does a white girl from Scotland get so much soul in her voice? Where does that come from?
Oh, my family, my father's side anyway, were musically inclined. So there was always singing going on. There was always that facility. And I remember as a child I used to get involved just playing with other children outdoors, you know, we used to play in the backyards and stuff and in the streets. I mean, children are so imaginative, and I remember that we used to make games up and we would be doing little concerts for the mothers, and we'd always been doing something, but I suppose my parents understood I had a sort of musical ability when I was about 3. They realised I could pick tunes out, you know, on a little toy piano, and that was the beginning of somebody recognising I had some skill in music. And then I had lessons, piano lessons, and things developed. And it actually took me ultimately to the Royal Academy of Music in London. But as luck would have it, I really didn't fit in there. And I got very frustrated in that institution because I had worked so hard to get there and actually was really disappointed with the place and didn't know where to go after that. I'd put so much into it, and you know, you have to be very dedicated to be a really good classical musician.
You played flute for a bit too, didn't you?
Yeah, I wanted to be an orchestral player or maybe play in a chamber ensemble or something like that. But, you know, at the time I had 3 sort of really miserable years spent there in training and very lost, very confused as to what I would do in the future. I was just really fortunate that certain things happened in my life that made me realise that music was very important to me, and I discovered that I had a voice, and I started to sing, and nobody taught me how to do it. I never went to any acting lessons. I didn't have any teaching whatsoever, and it was kind of like a rebellion against all the teaching that I'd had. And so I'm grateful for that bad experience, because it really motivated me to find something else, you know. And I think it's really difficult when you're young and you just don't have one particular goal. So once I knew that I wanted to sing, that was it, you know. That was it for me.
When Extreme Close-Up returns, Lennox reveals her personal criteria.
I think it's very important that people are genuine, you know, that they know themselves and they are honest.
Welcome back to Extreme Close-Up, E's half-hour interview show with Annie Lennox.
So you came to write the songs for Diva, 10 songs, 10 original songs. And tell us a little about that process.
I always have the suspicion in the back of my mind that I will never, ever be able to write a song again. That I have a little, as I call it, a kind of like a little negative bird who doesn't shut up when I try to write, you know. I mean, I think most creative people do. And you have to kind of block that out in order just to put down the first idea. And it's all about actually throwing yourself into the great unknown. It sounds very dramatic, but actually when you have to confront yourself with your own abilities and all you have is a blank sheet of paper, it's very daunting.
Do you try it out on someone as you're going along?
Yes, my husband is very, very well tried out on person, you know. I try things out on him. I mean, he gets the brunt end of all of my problems, just as I do his. And usually in the middle of a song, when doesn't seem to be getting to any place, I'm usually in such a bad mood because it's almost like I can't relax until I've completed it. And he's always there to remind me that, you know, well, I seem to remember you were like this on the last song that you were writing. Don't worry, you'll write a song, you know.
Yeah. Now, I understand he's a filmmaker, a documentary filmmaker. How did you meet?
Oh, we met while he was working on a film about Eurythmics, actually. And he was working in the crew. And I picked him out. I actually didn't meet him again for a very long time. I met him again later on.
And he obviously remembered you, and you remembered him?
Yes, well, the thing is, I suppose it's really difficult, you know, because for people that are really well known, there's a certain sort of like invisible thing around them, which means that they're kind of not really real to other people. So you have to break that down, you know. You have to get to the real person, really.
Having been briefly married once before, what had you been looking for in a man?
Well, I suppose something that I hadn't really found in anybody, you know, probably
Which is?
for a long time. Well, a really genuine person. I think it's very important that people are genuine, you know, that they know themselves and they are honest. And I think my husband is exceptionally honest to a fault, you know. And
to a fault?
well, what I mean by that is that I think at the stage when I met him, a lot of people were telling me what they thought I might want to hear, and that is not always good for you. It's not intentional, But it's very easy to say yes, and it's very hard to say no sometimes. It's more convenient, you know. So I now really encourage people to tell me the truth, even if they think it might offend me or that I might not take it too well, because I'd rather have that than half-truths that are not, you know. And I'm very keen that I'm always grounded and very anchored, you know, because the sort of thing that I do, you know, for people, you're always it seem to be, well, not always, but very often in the spotlight, in the discussion zone, and people see your face and they you know, they talk about you, and so it can mean that very quickly you're rather like a balloon, you know, one of those helium balloons that just kind of floats away, and it's a very dangerous thing, you know. It's not, I don't think it's healthy for your, you know, your head.
Now, you have a child, Lola, who is about a year and a half now. I know you're not touring for this album. Is that because of Lola?
Yes.
Not to blame her for that, but...
Well, it's more that I value certain things, and I've toured so often in my life, and it has taken up such a tremendous amount of my... It's a very consuming thing, you see. I mean, you don't just have a normal life and then do a concert that night. That's not possible. You almost have to live, as a singer at least, I have felt that I have lived in a vacuum, you know, because I had to be very healthy to sing, had to be very rested, so I couldn't afford to socialize that much or, you know, do the kind of normal things people do on tour, right? Because I'm always thinking, oh, I've got a concert tonight, I better save myself, you know, I have to work out extremely hard so that I had the stamina for it, and so. And now it's just like with everything that I do, music-wise, is like I have certain priorities. And I am like all women who work as well as or have children, and that I just want to balance, get the balance right. And I don't want to disappear from my child, and I don't want to drag her around the world with me, because it's not fair. I mean, it's not to say that I won't perform again. I did a performance for MTV recently. I did an unplugged for them, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was great to play in front of a live audience, and I have done a lot of live television in front of audiences and so. But I think I kind of was relieved that I wasn't doing it, and I didn't have, like, you know, another 60 dates ahead of me. Because you could just do it endlessly. It could just eat up your whole life, and I have more to live for now.
I know there's a good many years before you have to concern yourself with this, but if your daughter, Lola, came to you at some point and said, Mom, I'd like to pursue a career in rock and roll or in music.
No, that would be fine by me. At least I could stay out of her way. I'd have the good grace to shut up, you know. I don't know. I mean, I think it's, you have to be very well motivated, and you have to be quite a special person to do it, really. And let's just hope I would have the good grace to shut up when I should know better.
Up next on Extreme Close-Up, Lennox talks about doing it for herself.
I was very content in Eurythmics, and then when I had a break, I just realized that was a step that I'd like to take.
Stop! Welcome back to Extreme Close-Up, E's half-hour interview show with Annie Lennox.
Diva, your first solo album. Have you been surprised by its incredible success?
Oh, yes, I have, actually, yes, and I suppose it is pretty incredible to me that it's had any success at all, because I had actually no preconceptions, and I had no knowledge that it, you know, it would do well. I think when I make music, and when Eurythmics made music before, we could never tell if people would like what we did. You just make music because that's what you do, and you do your best. You do what you think represents you at the time. And of course, you hope that it will be successful, because that's the thing that gives you the strength to carry on, the clout, if you like, you know. But it seems to be picking up here. So I'm thrilled to bits.
Were you nervous about going it alone?
No, I wasn't nervous at all. I felt that had to be my next step, creatively. You know, I was never ambitious about being a solo artist. I was very content in Eurythmics. And then when I had a break, I just realized that was a step that I'd like to take. Because I was curious to know what kind of music I'd make on my own. I'd never even thought about it before. What I perhaps would have had fears about, if I had fears, was just that the quality of the songs I would write wouldn't be as strong as I might want. So that was something that I had to be very sure about before the record was released, you know.
I just heard Walking on Broken Glass, which I guess will be the second single
Yes.
from the album.
That's right, yes.
A very pretty song. And tell us a little about the inspiration for that.
You know, I really don't know what took me to write that song. Some songs I have a clear notion, and what inspired me, oh, it was this, and I went away, and it made me do that. But this is something I really don't know. Some songs just emerge, you know. So, I mean, the song is quite jokey in a funny way. I mean, it's very much like a woman scorned. You know, there's hell hath no fury than a woman scorned, and I rather quite kind of like that. But you know, in the past, I suppose a lot of my songs were, and Eurythmic songs, I should say, were very bitter, and so my whole persona was angry and quite isolated, and. Now, a song like Broken Glass is more like a parody in a way of that type of wrath, you know, that kind of anger. I don't know, many women have that anger in them.
The video for the Diva album includes a very intriguing segment that was shot in Venice, in St. Mark's Square, for a little bird with millions of pigeons and you in that very elaborate Diva costume. Tell us about what it was like to shoot that video.
Oh, I mean, tremendous fun, because the thing is with me, I'm very shy, actually, believe it or not. And, no, I mean, I'm quite reticent, you know. I'm not a social sort of animal very much. But I think the thing with me is that once I have the chance to get into a certain character, all sorts of possibilities, you know, it's quite endless, and it is rather like a kind of shield in a way that you use. And to have the guts to walk out in the street and do that with people, it's the most fantastic experience, you know, because it's quite confrontational. That's what I like about performance, is that you are able to do the most unexpected things merely because you are the one who happens to be on the stage. You know, it's just this incredible power that, you know, it's possible to do anything, really. And I mean, as I say, it's not the kind, I mean, I could never just walk up to somebody and sort of stare them out, you know. Normally, I could never do that type of thing. But as I say, with 6-inch stack heels and a headdress, you know, the world's my oyster, you know.
I have to ask, has Dave Stewart given you any feedback on the album now that it's completed?
No, he hasn't.
Oh, really?
No, he hasn't. No, we lead quite separate lives. And I think it's, there's no animosity or anything like that, but we just, we had so much of each other, you know. We kind of, we lived like we packed 100 years into quite a short space of time. So we don't really socialize or anything like that. We're having a real space, that's what we need.
Do you think you would ever collaborate with him again, either on stage or in the studio?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think we've really run our course. But I don't, you know, I'm not going to say that we never will. I'm not going to say, well, that's, you know, definitely we will. I mean, it's just been, it's like something that we didn't even discuss, you know. We did, as I said earlier, we had a lot of strain, and it was pretty tough on both of us, because we were kind of really, actually, without us realizing it, we were actually really desperate to get away from that thing that we created. And I think that if it was to be something that we would know, we could both enjoy it, it would be hassle-free, it would be really challenging, it would be creatively fun to do, and we'd have no personality clashes, why not do it? But, you know, we've been through an awful lot, you know. I think it would be a tall order to expect us to come back together again and for it all to be just like, you know, rainbows and pink clouds, you know.
When Extreme Close-Up returns, Lennox says adios to an old partner.
I've had a lifetime of that eternal angst. That is a goodbye to it, you know, with pleasure. You can take the angst.
Welcome back to Extreme Close-Up, E's half-hour interview show with Annie Lennox.
You've said that so many of your better songs have come as a result of your being in a dark, brooding place psychologically, that some of your best work comes perhaps when you're feeling depressed. And I wonder if, given that trade-off between contentment and an inability to create music and eternal angst and a constant flow, of songs. Which,
Oh, thanks. Hey, that's pretty Faustian. Right. No, I'll take the contentment, thanks. I've had a sort of lifetime of that eternal angst. I said goodbye to it, you know, with pleasure. You can take the angst.
Through the years, your public persona has been sometimes shocking, provocative, ranging from dressing as a man to the recent Freddie Mercury benefit where you came out with raccoon eyes.
Raccoon eye. I hate that term, raccoon eye.
How would you describe it?
Well, my idea of it was just simply that it was some sort of rather somber mask that was not a mask, but it was sort of part of the makeup, you know. When I saw this raccoon eyes, I thought, oh, here we go, another bit of typecasting. A raccoon, yes, that's fine. It was inspired by a raccoon. Or a panda, maybe.
Well, the point is you've certainly adopted a number of images through the years, and I wonder what image, and we'll make this the final question, what image best suits Annie Lennox in the 90s?
Oh, it's definitely what I project now, you see.
Which is?
Whatever it happens to be. Because I have no fixed image as such. I mean, the image I hope that people really, the long-lasting image of what my work it will be and has been, I think is probably a strong female singer with some kind of integrity. That is the lasting image that I hope to project. The rest of it is just makeup and dressing up, really.
Okay, Annie, so much fun talking.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you.
I have a question for you. If you